Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon.
And I'm Aiara.
Welcome to the Mustacast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine, and do whatever you can to support them. So,
Speaking of, I actually have good news. As of the day we're recording, Sunday, January 19th, there's been a ceasefire deal reached, which is great.
really?
Fantastic. Yeah, really. I've only heard, like, I haven't looked into it fully. But yeah, there's been a ceasefire deal reached. It's supposed to go into effect today. There's like a whole bunch of like stuff. Like terms and conditions and whatnot. And of course, this does not mean that we like Palestine still needs help. They have to rebuild. They have like there's a lot. So keep supporting them. But a ceasefire has been reached, which is fantastic.
Okay, that's good to hear. I have to look more into that. But yeah, of
Yeah,
course, continue to support. They still need help.
of course, of course.
So, what media have you been interacting with lately?
So, we've been playing more Ghost of Tsushima lately. We finally got off Iki Island. We're finally back on like the main story track, which is nice. Although I find myself kind of missing it because I thought it was interesting towards the end. Like all the like stuff that we were frustrated with. Once we got to the end, it's like, oh, it wasn't actually that bad. It was actually pretty cool. So that's been a thing. I've been playing a lot of Link's Awakening again, just because I've been thinking about it. It was the first Zelda game I ever beat, so I'm like, let's go back to it. Um, what else? What else? What else? I had something else in mind, and now I can't remember what it is. Oh, Valhalla. I've been playing that like cyberpunk bartending game, which is really fun. Still just as fun as I remember it being, but it's a lot. It's super dialogue heavy. And I only tend to play it at night because that's the cyberpunk time to me. And then I'm like tired because I'm like I don't want to read all this. But that's been nice. I've also been kind of watching a whole bunch of trash TV. So like your Lifetime entertainment stuff, like Lifetime movies and like those like 17 Kids and Counting and stuff. Just to have background noise on while I like wash dishes or like do crochet or something. It's insane. I feel like I'm getting way older despite only being 22. It's insane. But that's about it. I do have stuff on my docket that I just haven't gotten around to because I've been so busy. But yeah.
Yeah, I need to replay Ghost of Tsushima at some point. I mean, I know if the new game wasn't coming out this year and Assassin's Creed
Mm-hmm.
wasn't coming out in March, I would do it. But it's like, damn, there's too many games similar to it coming out now that I'm like, I'm probably not gonna have time to replay it. Who knows? Maybe sometime this summer I'll find time. You know what? I forget it's 2025. Games are coming out this year.
Right. Yeah,
There's a lot of good games coming out this year, and we don't
for
know dates
sure.
on a lot of them. Was it next week? On the 23rd on Thursday is Xbox's developer direct where they will be showing stuff for Doom: The Dark Ages and a bunch of other games they announced, and apparently one new game from a Japanese studio that we don't know about. Who knows what it's
Ooh.
going to be? And it's an unannounced game. It's a game that has been announced. Who knows what it's going to be? It could be Resident Evil. It could be anything. So
Nice,
yeah,
nice, nice.
there's some games coming out this year. So who knows if I'll be able to try and replay that before Ghost of Yotei comes out. Assuming it comes out this
Mm-hmm.
year and doesn't get delayed. If it gets delayed, maybe I'll have time, but hopefully it doesn't.
Right.
If it doesn't need
Yeah,
to.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for me, I been playing Persona 3 and Indiana Jones in the Great Circle. I am on the weeks leading up to the final battle in Persona 3, finally. Um, and I'm so close. Just like the characters in the game need to try and um, defeat the big boss by January 31st. I want to try and beat this game by January
By January
31st,
31st. That's
which is
fire. That's
really funny.
fire.
It's coming up on almost a year. That game came out last February.
Oh wow.
I've been playing this game for so long, but I've really gotten a really good grasp on the mechanics, and I'm having a lot of fun now. And it makes
Good.
me more excited to play Persona 5. And because Assassin's Creed got pushed back a month, and I know I'm going to be playing
Mm-hmm.
Persona 5 forever, I'm probably going to start Persona 5 when I finish Persona 3.
Makes sense.
because I'm
Makes
gonna be
sense.
playing it on and off again for a very long time. So I might as well start it, especially since I
Yeah.
got the fire in me. Indiana Jones, still playing it, but I'm playing it super slowly. Um, no, like I talked about last episode, I've turned around on it. I don't dislike it as much as I did initially, but there are still
Right.
things about it that I don't love that keep me from like obsessing over it and wanting to play it all the time. That and
Hmm.
because I want to play Marvel Rivals all the time, but we'll talk about that later. Um,
Real.
but yeah, I'm having fun with Persona 3, and also some outlets started doing their like game of the year coverage. They do their game of the year coverage early at the beginning of the following year versus at the end of the last year. So a lot of people were talking about Metaphor, and I want to play Metaphor, but I'm like, there's rumors that they might have lied to us, Atlas, and they might still release a extra super duper edition of this game after the fact,
They
despite the
are.
fact that they said that they weren't. So
Mm.
yeah, I might as well just play because I was thinking about just play at the very least playing the demo, but I was like, I don't even want to play the demo if they're gonna make changes. So I'm just gonna play Persona 5 because that's probably gonna take long enough to the point to where when they finally release that second edition of Metaphor Fantasio, I'll be done with Persona
Mhm.
5. So
I
yeah,
will say, as a person who's played the demo, it's really good.
yeah,
It's a really good game. It's
I'm
fire.
excited for it. I keep hearing good things about it. And I've heard things about like the themes of the story, and I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. And also Hulkenberg, oh my god,
Listen,
I need
because
Hulkenberg in my life.
so true, so
Too
true.
bad I hear there's no romance in that game because if it was, um, but yeah, I saw Nosferatu on Christmas Day. I talked about that a
Ooh.
little bit last episode, but I'll talk about it a bit more today. Still watching Sex Lives of College Girls. Um, I don't know. It's kind of lost the charm that it used to have. You know, some characters have left. Oh, was it Renee Rapp left the cast in like episode 2, and it's like
Mm.
I don't know. It's not as good
Damn.
as it used to be. Like I'm still enjoying it, but not as much as I used to. In terms of animation, still watching Superman anime series alongside Blind Wave. I finished rewatching it myself, but you know I'm still watching it with them. Gentry
Mm.
Trial. I forget what the second part of that title is, but I'm still watching that. I'm watching it slowly. It's not bad. I'm just watching other things at the same time, so I watch it every now and again. But it's only 13 episodes. I
Makes
think I'm
sense.
on like episode 8 or something, so I'll finish it eventually. Um, I started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. Finally,
Ooh, what do you
it's
think?
it's one of the few like super popular anime that I haven't seen. I've seen most of them,
Mm.
pretty much all of them, as far as
Mm.
I can tell. I think Evangelion and Sailor Moon are the only gaps in my super popular anime knowledge. Um,
Real.
in terms of like older anime, at the very least, there's plenty of like
Right.
modern popular anime that I could not care to watch. But
Right.
like I'm not watching that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I don't give a damn about that. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I'm loving it. It's so good. It's so good. I'm upset though that the Netflix version doesn't have "Fly Me to the Moon" as the outro. Because I watched it
Yeah.
I watched it on YouTube and I was like, oh my god, these episodes would be so much better if it ended with this. And
Right.
now I'm like trying to hunt down like DVDs of the original dub because I also just want to hear the original dub just to see what it sounds like, but also want to have the episode end and then "Fly Me to the Moon" plays. That sounds great.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm loving
That's
it so
like.
far. I'm on like episode 7 or something.
Ooh.
Like I'm watching an episode pretty much every day, except I think yesterday was the only
Mm.
time I didn't watch it because I was too busy watching other things and playing
Makes
video
sense.
games. But
Makes.
because I play Marvel Rivals every day on the weekday, and essentially I play every other game on the weekend. So I play Persona 5 and Indiana Jones on the weekend.
I see. I
So I
see.
just didn't. Oh, and I was watching Castlevania. That's why I didn't watch it.
Mm. Mm.
um, but yeah, also watching Castlevania. Like I said, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And Sakamoto Days has started airing 2 episodes so far,
Oh.
and it's really good so far. I'm loving this trend of anime where a person with like a violent past begins living a normal domestic life, like Spy Family and Way of the House Husband. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
I
all
haven't
I
thought about
got.
Way of the House Husband in so long. You just reminded me that I never finished the anime in air quotes.
Yeah, but I'm moving on to animation. We're gonna start off with the fact that WB and Max continues to remove cartoons from their streaming service. And recently, 2 big ones were removed: Ben 10 and Teen Titans Go. And there are no Blu-rays of Ben 10, so you can either get the 720p DVDs, or if you want to watch it in HD, you have to buy it on Prime or YouTube, where you don't really own it, and it could still be taken away from you at any time. You know, that's the
Mm.
reason why physical media is so important, so that you know when stuff like this happens, you still have a way of watching things.
Right.
And you know things are dire when they remove Teen Titans Go,
Teen Titans
one
Go.
of the most
Yeah.
popular cartoons in existence at the moment. Um, like we've mentioned before, this is done to prevent paying royalties to the people who worked on these projects, which is royally fucked up. That's just why. Like, pay the
Yeah.
people the money. They made this popular thing for you that's making money. Like, what's the point? Max has also just straight up removed the kids and family title off of their brand spotlight section, where you could search for very specific things, and now it's been absorbed into their browse by genre section. So it's like they just literally removed the cartoon section basically, which is
Mm,
weird.
very weird.
And yeah, just the complete and total lack of respect for the medium that kept these companies afloat over the pandemic while live action productions had to be put on hold is appalling. It's insane.
Right. And
With
then
me.
also,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, more like the not target demographic, but like the people that are watching the most of these streaming services are like families with their kids. So it's like you're losing money and trying to save like pennies ultimately. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like what needs to happen for animation to get the respect it deserves? It's like they keep making money. It's clear people want these things, but they refuse to see it. But moving on,
Mm.
speaking of Ghost of Tsushima, um, a Ghost of Tsushima anime series is in the works called Ghost of Tsushima Legends. It will be exclusive to Crunchyroll and is set to release in 2027.
Ugh.
Directed by Takanobu Mizuno, who directed the Duel episode of Star Wars Visions, one of my favorites, and it's in
Ooh.
collaboration with Aniplex. According to Wesley Yinpool at IGN, the new series, the first anime adaptation of a PlayStation Studios game, is not only based generally on Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, but specifically the Legends co-op multiplayer portion, which is interesting
Ooh.
because that's a much more fantastical than the main game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all of the more fantastical moments in the main game are explained away by drugs. um,
Right.
and I'm interested in this project, but not particularly excited. Ghost isn't a franchise that I'm like clamoring for an adaptation of. So I hope it's
Mm.
good, but I'm not like super excited or anything. We'll
That
see.
makes sense.
It's a while out anyway. 2027. I can't even imagine
Yeah.
what that year's gonna be like. We're in 2025.
Right.
It's 2 years from now. Um, so we got a trailer for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, formerly known as Spider-Man, something with a home in it, like the movies. Freshman year, that doesn't have home in it.
Mm.
I was wrong. I said it and went, pretty sure you don't spell freshman year with home.
That's
Yeah, we got
crazy.
a trailer for it. And I have no idea why they decided that this should be in 3D. But like I've said before, time and time again, I'm not a CGI hater. In fact, quite the opposite. I always talk about how CGI and cartoons has gotten so much better. It looks so good. Studio Orange and everything
Yeah.
they do, it's real good. Same thing with Mappa. But sometimes it's just unnecessary. Um,
Right.
they have this
More
beautiful art
work.
style that is built to be animated in 2D damn near. Like it's based on artwork by comic artist Leonardo Romero, who I believe also
Ooh.
designed most of the characters in the show. And his art itself, his style is inspired by John Romita Sr., who is a very famous, legendary Spider-Man comic artist. Um,
Mm.
and then they take that and turn it into this monstrosity. I hate to say that because artists work on this, and it doesn't look bad, but it's just in comparison to what it could have been,
It doesn't do it
it
justice.
just
Yeah.
doesn't do it justice. And I know people are doing the best with what they got, but like this isn't what we should have got. I want to be proven wrong, and for this to look a lot better when watching a full episode, or for at the very least the writing and acting to like carry it. But I'm not particularly hopeful, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm being honest.
That's
Also,
fair.
I'm just tired of high school Peter. Bring back college Peter. That's where all of his best stories come from when he was in
Mm-hmm.
college. But yeah, this releases pretty soon on January 29th, so in a couple weeks. Um, so season one of Creature Commandos is over, and
Ooh.
it's been greenlit for season two, which makes sense because the person who created the show is now at the head of DC Studios, so he just greenlit it himself and was like, "Yeah, I'll make a second season of my show."
Right.
You know, it was pretty
I
good.
mean, I respect it.
Yeah, I would do the same. It was pretty good, but it felt unfinished. Like the finale was just super unsatisfying, but it also was told in a way that it was meant to wrap things up. But I'm like, no, there are so many plots that just weren't finished. Do they plan on picking this up in season 2 in terms of these storylines? Because it felt like it just ended. It was an extremely weird ending, but it was good. It was fun. I was checking it out. There's a conversation being had
Hmm.
about the way that James Gunn writes women that is very
Mm-hmm.
interesting about how maybe he's not good at it and he needs to step up his game in that regard. And I haven't really like analyzed the way he writes women enough to really have a conversation about it, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. Maybe we can talk about it
Mm.
another time. Um,
Yeah,
but moving on to Sonic 3. Have you seen it?
I have not.
God damn it. I thought you were going to see it by now.
I know, I know. I haven't had time to go to the movies like at all. It's tragic. There's so much out that I want to see right now, but then it's like finding the time to do it is hard.
Well, we'll have to talk about it another time. So I finally watched
Mm-hmm.
Look Back. Um, I watched it just before my Amazon Prime subscription ran out, and it was good. Uh,
Yeah.
the animation was gorgeous, and the story was heart wrenching. I had read the short story before. For those of you who don't know, Look Back is an adaptation of Chainsaw Man creator Tatsuki Fujimoto's one shot of the same name. It follows two small town girls who bond over their love for drawing manga, and it follows them from middle school to adulthood. The spoiler, because we about to just get into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The story takes a surprisingly dark turn at the end when one of the girls is killed by an axe murderer in a mass killing at her university. And this is based on a real life incident from 2019 when an arson attacked the animation studio Kyoto Animation, killing 36 people and injuring 34. The arsonist attacked the studio because he believed that the studio had been plagiarizing his work, and the axe murderer in the cartoon had the same motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot. It definitely did the one shot justice. It's weird how Fujimoto can write something like this, but also write the weird stuff that is Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man.
Just all man.
It
Yeah.
is insane. This story reminds me of Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow a lot.
Ooh.
And because that story is also about people being brought together over their love of creating something, and it ends in tragedy. But what brought the characters
Mm.
together in Tomorrow was video games, and video game
Mm.
development instead of manga. But yeah, I like the story a lot. And there was the main characters both have like half of Fujimoto's last name.
Mm-hmm.
It was it Kiyomoto and Fujino, um,
I think so. Yeah.
and they're both meant to kind of represent Fujimoto's experience with being a mangaka and an artist. But I'm curious if maybe Fujimoto, like, because I tried to look it up and I don't think it's ever been confirmed or anything. If Fujimoto like had a friend that worked at Kyoto Animation, or maybe even multiple, that ended up dying, and maybe that's why they decided to tell the story like that.
Mm. It makes sense. Yeah.
But moving on to well, you have anything to say about it?
I just really liked it. It was devastatingly sad, and for a while, I think like I'd been in a really bad like creative slump with like design and writing and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even really see the point. And then I watched Look Back, and I was like, I have to go home and create for creating's sake, you know. And I think it's definitely like as a creative, it's a good movie to watch if you feel hopeless about like where the artistic like market is right now with like the rise of AI and all that stuff. It's like, just for like it helped me realize that you don't have to create for like not necessarily for profit, but to like receive something in return, if that makes sense. It's like you can just create for creation's sake. And I find myself losing that sometimes in, this capitalistic society we live in. So it was nice to have that like refocus when I watched it.
Yeah, I definitely suggest checking it out. It's pretty short. It's like less than an hour. It's like 15 minutes or something like that.
I think so.
Um, So moving on to Castlevania Nocturne. Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah, specifically season two.
I'm watching it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm watching it tonight.
So Castlevania Nocturne season two is one of the best animated seasons of a show ever created. From the animation
Ooh.
to the writing and the acting, it is just a level up from the first season in so many ways. Like everybody, please watch this so we can get more. I'm not going to spoil anything. And we'll probably talk spoilers next episode when you watch it. But
Definitely.
the way Richter uses speaker magic to fight makes me wonder why don't waterbenders from Avatar fight like this? Like covering their limbs with ice and kicking and punching, like you saw that in the finale of the first season. But now that he just has it, he's just out here throwing hands, and it's fire, literally. It's so good.
Love to see
On the
it.
other hand, while Net's story in this is even better than it was in the first season, I feel like she doesn't get to do nearly as much cool stuff with her earthbending, which
Yeah.
she's basically just an earthbender, but she doesn't get to use it. I feel like in as creative ways that Richter does with his abilities. Like she still has some fun
Mm-hmm.
fight scenes, but it's just not as creative as I feel like it could be with the power she has. Especially comparing it to something like Avatar, where people with the same powers do really cool stuff. Whereas, like in comparison to Avatar with Richter, he's doing even cooler stuff with abilities that characters in Avatar have. Um, yeah, the animation, all the action. There's so much action, and it's so good. Like, there's way more action in
Ooh.
this season than I think all like any individual season of the Castlevania cartoons so far. There's a lot of action, and
Really?
it's all really good. And like yeah, the way they mix in this like what is it kind of like African mythology with a net story is really cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and again, no spoilers, but it felt like this was the end of these characters. Like they were gonna move on to the next Belmont or something, or like you've played the games like to John Morris or something like that. But
Right.
in the finale, they lingered longer than I was expecting them to, and made it very clear like no, there are plot lines left unfinished, and there's
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna be a season three, at least one more season in Nocturne. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see where
I
this
hope so.
goes. Um,
Yeah.
without being specific, some things happen and like references
Uh-huh.
happen that make it seem like that maybe, and it makes sense based on the fact that they jump straight to Richter and Symphony of the Night because that's the most popular game. That the
Yep.
next game that they like adapt will probably be, I forget what they call it, the one with Soma Cruz.
Oh,
It's heavily
Aria
implied,
of Sorrow.
yeah, it's heavily implied that those two games are going to be the ones that they adapt next.
Ooh, I'm excited. I actually okay. So hot take, right? Of the GBA trilogy, like of Castlevania games, there's Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow, right? And Circle of the Moon is very like people like it a lot, but it's not canon, so it doesn't really matter. I didn't enjoy it. uh Harmony of Dissonance is like the black sheep of the family, but Aria of Sorrow is like universally loved, and I'm really excited to see what they do with Soma, because my one gripe with Aria of Sorrow while I was playing it was that like he wasn't expanded upon enough. It's like they just drop us into this like future world of Castlevania, and it's like we don't learn that much about Soma or like what he's got going on. And of course, there's like the opening game text crawl, but I want to know more. So I hope that if they do Aria of Sorrow next, that we get a lot more backstory on Soma besides the surface level stuff.
Yeah, but spoiler alert for those games for people who don't know. But like, um, I think that instead of making Soma like a reincarnation of Dracula, that they might make Soma Alucard's like child,
Sense.
like a descendant of Alucard.
Yeah.
I think,
Honestly, I feel like that would make more sense than how.
or
Yeah.
actually, at the end of
Or
Castlevania, Dracula and I forget Alucard's mother's
Lisa.
name. Yeah, and Lisa Tepish are like still alive. Maybe it's just instead of being like a reincarnation, it is just a child, a descendant of theirs that because they had like another child.
That'd be crazy.
That would be insane if they just had another child and this is just a descendant of that person.
Right.
That would honestly be even cooler.
I think so, yeah. And it would make sense because again, spoilers for Aria of Sorrow, you get followed around by Alucard in during the game.
Going by
It's
Aricardo, which is
right, which
hilarious.
is very him. I mean, his given name is like
Adrian.
his father's name
Oh,
backwards.
I was gonna say.
I like
He could have
Adrian
just,
Fahrenheit Tepish,
yeah, I'm saying
though, is a crazy name.
he could have just went by his real name.
Yeah, yeah. But Adrian is lame.
I like
I feel like
Adrian.
if
Adrian's
I,
a good name. I like
but
Adrian.
if I'm like
I
the
call him
son of
Adrian every time he
Dracula,
shows up. Every time he shows up in the show, I go, look, it's baby boy Adrian. Sweet baby boy.
Adrian. I feel like if I'm trying to stop my father from killing every human on the planet, right? No one's gonna take me seriously if I call myself Adrian. So I understand the Alucard name, but he could have picked a cooler name instead. Like, it's very like 16-year-old rebel to me, which I enjoy. It's very that is very Adrian, but it's funny. It's just funny.
Yeah, Juiced, your boy. He gets a lot more in this season. So.
Yes.
But yeah.
Maybe it'll make more people play Harmony of Dissonance and like it because it's a good game.
Yeah. So moving on to comics. It's been a while. So it's been a while. Mm-hmm. So I got a lot of comics to talk about. Initially, I wasn't gonna like do the thing I usually do, where I like give a little description of them, and I was saying, no, I'll just list them down. And then I was like, nah, I got to do it. I do it every time. I got to do it again.
Consistency.
There's so many comics, but so I finished Bleach, and also I didn't mention it actually. Mm-hmm. The most recent season of Bleach also ended. It was great. It was great. It's perfection. Next season is gonna be the last. I'm excited.
Ooh.
So I finished the manga, rereading it, and the ending is not as bad as people make it out to seem. Because I hadn't read it in a long time, so I remember it being worse than it was, and I read it and I'm like, oh, that was fine. There was nothing wrong with that. Like, there's for sure like some like unfulfilled like plot points, but it like the ending doesn't feel bad. Like, it's not bad. It gets the job done and then it's over, and then it has epilogue where it like jumps to the future and people have kids and like that's the end. And like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And then I read the one shot that Kubo released a while ago that is like meant to tease at a new arc and manga coming back. Ooh. And he said that anytime anyone mentions it online, he's gonna push it back further. So at this point, he'll be writing it from heaven at this point. But he's probably what's really happening is probably after he's done with the anime, he's probably gonna start working on it.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. So Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 32 and 33. Robin enlists the help of the Justice Society of America to bring down an Eclipso-controlled Batman and Superman. And Wonder Woman, number 15. In this chapter, the Sovereign, the secret king of America, narrates to Wonder Woman's daughter in the future about how she systematically destroyed his very well-hidden and spread out wealth. It was really good. Just the way it was written. Like, I don't get the hate for this story. Like, maybe I'm missing something. I want to leave the door open to just being wrong. But, like, I feel like people are... The hate feels so forced. Like, people want this story to be so much... Like, they want it to be this, like, pro-American sexist story. But it's, like, it's not. Like, when you actually sit down and read it and don't just listen to people online, you realize that it's the complete opposite. The villain of this arc is... the secret corrupt king of the country America that, and like, it's the whole story is about how America sucks and it's corrupt and now Wonder Woman has to fix things. Like, that's the whole story. Mm-hmm. And people are trying to make it seem like it's the complete opposite of that. It's so weird. I'm like, man. So Absolute Wonder Woman number 2 it's revealed that Wonder Woman's lasso in this universe works like Ghost Rider's penance stare and makes you feel all the pain that you've inflicted on others. And that makes a lot of sense for a Wonder Woman that was raised in hell. You should read Absolute Wonder Woman. It's really good. Plastic Man No More number 3. This story is messed up. So, spoiler. In the last issue, Plastic Man mistakenly killed the Metal Men by dropping them into a vat of molten metal. Then, in this issue, the criminal that he's working with to fix his condition kills Detective Chimp because he figured out what Plastic Man did to the Metal Men. And all of this is in pursuit of him finding a way to stop the deterioration of his plastic body so that he could use that treatment to save his son, who has the exact same powers and will eventually also deteriorate. Mm-hmm. So, like, he's doing it for a good reason, but he's just slowly going down. He's just slowly digging a hole. It's unfortunate. Also, I'm excited for the day we see Detective Chimp in live action. It is going to blow people's minds that they don't know this. Detective Chimp is a better detective than Batman, and he's a talking chimpanzee that dresses like Sherlock Holmes and walks around
That is
with a magnifying glass all the time.
this is insane. I just looked him up because you kept saying Detective Chip, and I'm like, there's no way that he's serious
There's no
about
way
this. Like
he's actually a monkey. He has to like be a man that's named Detective Chimp. No, he's a
that's
chimpanzee.
yeah. I was like, you've got to be messing with me. And then I looked it up, and yeah, this is a monkey.
And he's the greatest detective in DC Comics. In Detective
That's
Comics
insane.
comics.
That, that's insane to me. But it feels like it's in line with Plastic Man from what I know about him.
And
So
he's also, mind you, Detective Chimp, a member of the Justice League.
oh,
Which doesn't really account for much. Everybody's been a member of Justice League at some point.
but like
It's hilarious. So,
interesting.
like he's been like a main member of the Justice League. But
Mm.
Superman number 20. A doomsday from the future comes to warn Superman that a version of himself, Doomsday, more powerful than every other version, will come to wreak untold havoc. But it can be stopped if Superman helps this future Doomsday grow more powerful, which like sounds like a lie. It sounds like he's the Doomsday that's gonna destroy everything.
Right.
It's like Superman is just like sitting there like, no. Like why would I you think I'm stupid,
Are you
Doomsday?
crazy?
I've been
Yeah.
fighting you for decades. I'm not an idiot. Okay, Power Girl number 15. Using a magical Asgardian mirror, Power Girl discovers that Ejecta, the woman responsible for putting Omen in the hospital, is being manipulated by Symbio, the living computer that enslaved Power Girl after she escaped Krypton. Green Arrow 2024 annual. For this annual, the story flashes back to the I say flashes back, but it flashes to the future, where an old Oliver Queen is babysitting the children of his extended Arrow family and tells them the story of a villain he chased his entire career but never caught. But as he tells the story, he comes to an epiphany and he solves the case with the help of half dozen speedies. Like they're all, mind you, like this is the moment where I'm like, it's comics. Like I don't care that 12-year-old Dick Grayson was Robin, but a lot of these kids were
Right.
like younger than that, and he took them with him to go stop this criminal that it took him decades to like defeat, and
Insane work.
they were all like in little speedy costumes, and I was like, I'm sorry, Oliver, you, like go to jail, like
Yeah,
you can't be doing
immediately.
this.
Like
So Black Canary, best of the best, number 1. Black Canary agrees to a publicly televised fight against Lady Shiva, where she has to last 6 rounds, then throw the fight to get a cure to save her mother, the original Black Canary, from a terminal disease. So, Batman and Robin, year 1, issue number 2. Bruce gets a visit from Child Protective Services, like Oliver Queen should.
oh.
So yeah, this is the story of like when he first got Robin in the first year. So Bruce gets a visit from Child Protective Services, who wants to make sure that the billionaire playboy is actually up to the task of raising a kid.
Right.
So they have to pretend like they're not Batman and Robin and out doing dangerous things every night.
Insane.
So Batman: The Last Halloween, number 1 and 2, hoping to bring an end to the terrible tragedy that has struck Gotham, Batman and Robin descend into the hellish depths of Arkham Asylum, seeking answers and to come face to face with some of the city's most nefarious criminals. So, this is the finale to the Long Halloween saga, arguably the most influential
Ooh.
Batman story of all time. Jeff Loeb returns to
Ooh.
the world of the Long Halloween with a 10-part mystery continuing the story from the 2021's The Long Halloween Special, which I should probably read because I'm reading this, but I haven't read that. But it doesn't feel like I need to.
Real.
In each
That's real.
issue, Loeb will be joined by one of the top artists in comics in a beautiful and lovingly crafted tribute to Sale's art and legacy since he passed away in 2022. Still reading New Mutants. I'm on issue number 9. I need to read more of it. I've been real slow reading New Mutants. Ultimate X-Men number 8. I regret deciding to buy Black Panther physically versus this because I'm dropping Black Panther and moving over to just reading it digitally because the comic isn't bad, but it's like it's not that good either. And I'm like, dang, I should have got X-Men because X-Men is great. And like the art by Peach Momoko is so good. It's very manga inspired. And every page just looks like a watercolor painting. Like if you just look up Ultimate X-Men and Peach Momoko's art, like it's so good. So Poison Ivy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Poison Ivy number 27 and 28. While Ivy investigates the eco-terrorist group claiming that she's their leader, Sharon from HR, I think that's her name. I can't remember if it's Sharon or not. It might not be. who has slept with both Hurley and Ivy, is now messing with Killer Croc. She's just getting around all the villains. You
Insane.
know, something I'm sure all the monsters would love to do.
Yeah.
Radiant Black, number 30 and 30.5. I finally sat down and read the finale to the Catalyst War. It took me a long time. It had been out for months, and it was just sitting in my Kindle for so long. Um, yeah, and it ends with Marshall remaining as Radiant Black over Nathan, which makes sense because he's the person who won the poll a while back to decide which one kept the mantle. But after the story started exploring universes where there was a universe where Nathan was Radiant Black and Marshall wasn't, one where Marshall was Radiant Black and Nathan wasn't, I thought that maybe somehow they might both be Radiant Black eventually. But it ended with just Marshall, and I imagine that in the future Nathan will probably come back as like Radiant Green or something like that, like Power Rangers. um, I'm excited to see where the story goes from here, though. Zatanna bring down the house number 5. Another story
Mm.
finished. This book was incredible. If you're interested in Zatanna as a character, this is a great place to start. It's basically an origin story,
Ooh.
and it doesn't require you to read anything beforehand. You can just hop in from issue 1, and it's only 5 issues. Again, also look up the art for this. The art is incredible. It's so good. But yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
this art is fire. Hold
yeah,
on.
absolutely Superman number 2. Lois Lane, who's an agent of the so far mysterious Lazarus organization in this universe, cuffs herself to Superman with handcuffs that he can't seem to break, so he's forced to protect her from her own people as they try to take him down. And the story ends with Lois writing a report, which, according to her boss, she never does. But after doing so, she finds that she likes it. You know, a little cheeky reference to her being a reporter in the main universe. And probably
Oh,
she's probably going to become a reporter in this one. And in fact, the whole chapter is told from the perspective of Lois's report. It's really good. Absolutely Superman.
ooh, I love when they do that in
Yeah,
like media. That's so fun.
yeah. The Absolute universe in general is so good. I've read Absolute Batman. Was it number 3? But I'm not going to talk about that because I have too many comics. I pushed all the comics that I read this weekend to next episode.
Real.
But yeah, Absolute comics are good, and they're just you can just hop on with them. They're a new universe starting from scratch, so you don't need to have read anything
Ooh,
beforehand.
fun.
I mean, most comics you don't need to have read anything beforehand. Like I've said before, it's not as
Yeah.
confusing as people make it out to seem. But this one especially, you don't need to know literally anything. You can just read it, and that's it. So,
Nice.
moving on to TV and film. Christopher Nolan's next film is an adaptation of The Odyssey. Um, Described
Mm.
as a mythic action epic that follows the tale of Odysseus and his 10-year journey home after the Trojan War. It will star Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, Lupita Nyong'o, and Robert Pattinson. And yeah, this sounds exciting. But before we dive deeper into that, sorry, uh, I want to talk about the discourse surrounding people having never heard of the Odyssey. Um,
Honestly, listen.
yes. So I want to start with a quote by Crystal
Right.
Chanel from Twitter. She said, "This whole Odyssey conversation is a great example of how privilege can shape the way we judge and treat others. Everyone grew up differently, from varying privileges and education to different curriculum. People have an opportunity to encourage others to read the book or be excited that there will be a new entry point for the story. Instead, it's been used as a token to prove intelligence or some other third thing. Understand that not everyone is the same and be kind. Anyway, in the grand scheme of things, this is dumb, but a great opportunity for people to understand how they're acting and be nicer to others. Excited for the movie, is what she said. And
Mhm.
this is an excellent point. Instead of seeing this situation for what it is, which is the Odyssey not being as widely read or taught as people thought it was, a lot of people took it as an opportunity to get elitist and to dunk on others. And just
Mm.
the amount of kindness and empathy Crystal approaches these situations with is truly inspiring, and I definitely suggest giving her a follow on Twitter. She's great. But like um like people immediately go, oh, all these people are stupid for not knowing this, instead of stepping back and going, oh, maybe it isn't as like well known as I think. Maybe there is a very significant portion of people who don't know anything about this. Like people don't like take that into consideration. They just immediately go to, no, you're stupid.
Mm.
And like, yeah, like I know of the Odyssey. I've read,
Right.
watched all types of stories that take inspiration from the Odyssey. But you know what I haven't done? I actually read the Odyssey. And
And see,
I think most people are like that. I think most people know of the Odyssey but haven't actually read the Odyssey.
I'm on the other side of the debate as a person who has both read the Odyssey and like it's one of my favorite Greek like I forgot what you call them. I
Tragic.
think Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Like the Iliad is good. I like the Odyssey a lot better though, because it's how do I explain this? It's like it's so when you read the Odyssey for the first time, you really like it really puts into perspective how much of an impact it's had on like storytelling, structure and canon in the modern world, and it's really fascinating to see. And I also acknowledge the fact that just because that I've read the Odyssey doesn't mean that everyone else has. Like you said, most people are probably familiar with it and like the structure, but not the actual like novel itself. And I really do hope that this whole discourse gets people into reading it more. Like that's where I stand on this. It's like not a thing of like outside of privilege, outside of like different curriculums. I just hope this encourages people to read more because it's like it's it's a good hobby to have, and it can really like it does numbers if you let
Yeah,
it,
it's like
if that
if you
makes sense.
can sit on like social media and read tweets and like captions all day, you absolutely can sit down and read a book every night.
Right, right. And it's like that's where I'm at. It's like I don't think that anyone who hasn't heard of the Odyssey is like stupid or less than or whatever, but it's like, hey, it would do you some well to read every once in a while something that's not tweets and discourse and stuff like that. Like the Twittosphere is melting your brain. Please read a book for your own good. And I mean that with like all the love in my heart because it's like I want all my fellow humans to be well, and that's a good way of being well. And libraries are free, and the more you check out from libraries, the more public services they can provide. So it's a win-win. By checking out books from the library, you're bettering yourself and bettering your community.
So back to the movie itself.
Right,
I
right,
hope
right.
that he keeps the fantastical elements because Nolan is known for not using CGI. So all of the mythical creatures in this film would be practically done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that would be really fun to see. Also, this cast is stacked, and this is only a
Very
portion of
much
it.
so.
And I'm curious who's playing who. This will be
Same,
real cool.
same.
But so we got a trailer for Daredevil Born Again. A trailer was leaked a while ago, and it was some of the stuff that was in this. But seeing a full trailer is always great. And it looks good and violent, very violent. Did you watch the trailer?
I did
There
watch the
was there's
trailer.
so much violence. Someone got their arm broken, and you saw blood coming through clothes. It was crazy. Um,
Yeah,
Somebody's
insane.
knee got stomped on. It was wild. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, this release is March 4th, and I hope it's good because they were initially going to kill off all of the main characters except for Daredevil and Kingpin, but found fan outrage made them undo that decision. And, hopefully it didn't turn into a mess over time with all of those reruns and stuff.
Right.
I need to finish my rewatch of the original show before this comes out because I started rewatching a while back, but just like stopped at like episode 7 of season 2, and I need to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
I finished Dune Prophecy as well. It was
Ooh.
into episode 9, and I don't have much to say, to be honest. I enjoyed it, and I'm interested in season 2, but it wasn't like groundbreaking. Not that everything has to be, but this just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
spark the need for a deep discussion about Dune lore for me. Um,
Yeah, that's real.
I love learning about the origins of the Bene Gesserit and the power of the voice, and I'm curious to see where the story will go. But I don't really feel the need to have a deep conversation in that.
I was to say, yeah, like I am very fringe into Doom, still trying to read the books and fighting for my life. But the litany against fear is it's ingrained in my brain.
Yeah,
Like it's a good
Fear is the
it's
mind
good.
killer. And when I learned that came from Dune, I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah,
It was,
exactly.
I
And I
think it was when I was rewatching Dune 1 and she said Fear is the mind killer. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that quote all my life. And then I looked it up and I was like, where did it come from? And then it said Dune by Frank
yeah, it's like when
Herbert. And I was like, huh? It came
when
from
I got to
this?
that part in the book, I was like, oh, that's the thing. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
no, that's
And
cool.
it's been ringing my head like a bell ever since.
It's like
I'm obsessed
how
with it.
apparently the term brolic actually
Mm-hmm.
comes from Broly from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh
Like it
wow.
wasn't a word before that. Like it came from like people from New York calling people brolic to say that they were like buff like Broly for Dragon Ball Z, and that is the
Right.
origin of that term. It wasn't like Broly was named after that term. No, that term was named after Broly.
Named after Broly. That's insane.
But last but
I
certainly
kind of
not
rock with
least,
it
in TV and film, Nosferatu.
though. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I saw it Christmas Day, and it was incredible. The perfect movie to end the year off with, even if watching a horror movie on Christmas Day is a bit strange.
Yeah.
The cinematography was breathtaking. The acting was superb. It was so good. Bill Skarsgård is an incredible character actor, and you wouldn't know it was him as Count Orlok if you weren't told, because it doesn't look like
Mm.
him, and it damn sure doesn't sound like him. The voice that he does is incredible. It's perfectly haunting. It's so good. And
Ooh.
Lily Rose Depp also stands out as the lead of the film. The way she portrays the distress her character is going through makes you feel tense the entire way through. It's an incredible film, and everyone should go see it. I don't even know if it's still in theaters right now, but it's
So,
good. It's so good. So see it in theaters if it's still in theaters where you are, and check it out digitally whenever that happens. It's really good. It's a really good movie. I need to see it again. I was gonna try to see it in theaters again soon, but I just didn't. I didn't feel like it. So
mm.
it's a good movie though. You should see it.
I might. If is it scary? That's
No,
my
it's
thing.
not really scary. It's like the type of gothic
It's just
horror that it's more of an aesthetic than it is actual horror.
mm. Okay, so it's just tense. It's not
Yeah, yeah, it's more of a thriller than it
okay.
is like a horror.
Okay, maybe I'll go see it then. Because that was the only thing keeping me from going to go see it. I was scared, and I'll fully admit it.
Yeah. So moving on to video games, we're gonna start with Transformers Reactivate getting canceled. So I'm gonna
Oh.
read what the devs had to say over at Splash Damage about the cancellation on Twitter. I have to open my second laptop because when I try to open links on my tablet, my computer does weird things. So, and Splash Damage said, today we have some very difficult news to share. The decision has been made to end development of Transformers Reactivate. This means we will be scaling down to refocus our efforts on other projects, unfortunately. Despite every effort, a number of roles across the studio are now potentially at risk of redundancy. This decision did not come lightly, and it is a difficult time for the studio and our people. We want to take a moment to thank the team who worked on Transformers for their dedication and passion. Hasbro was an incredible and supportive partner throughout, and we hope to work with them again. To the many fans, your excitement and support helped keep us going. While not being able to see the game through to release is painful, having to say goodbye to friends and colleagues hurts even more. We're now focusing on doing everything we can to support them through this tough period, just as we are committed to caring for those who will stay with us as we build a strong Splash Damage for the future. Thank you for your compassion and understanding. So basically, people are getting fired. So there's not enough people to work on the project anymore, so they canceled it, and that sucks.
Oh,
Um, we talked
really
to
sucks.
we talked to someone recently who will remain unnamed, who kind of just schooled us on why the industry is the way that it is right now, and it's because over the pandemic, um, you know, two industries were booming: video games and animation, because they could both be done remotely from home. Um, and everybody was home, so they watched TV and they played video games. Um, and because the industry was booming, they had to hire more people to meet the new demand. Um, but after people started going back to work, started watching less TV, started playing less video games after the pandemic died down, um, demand went down, money went down. They couldn't afford to pay as many people anymore, so a lot of people got fired. Um,
Hmm.
and we're still seeing the effects of that. And unfortunately, that resulted in this game getting canceled, which sucks because we talked about before there was some leaked footage from a while back that looked incredible. It looked
Right.
like an evolution of the Cybertron games, which is all Transformers fans wanted, was an evolution of those games, because those games didn't get the sequels that they deserved. And I think it was the studio that originally worked on it is an Activision studio, and they're stuck like working on Call of Duty and stuff now. So
Hmm.
um, I've been playing War for Cybertron on PS3, and the combat in it is very basic. It's just a third-person shooter with the added bonus of being able to transform into a vehicle, and it's fun. And I think that if they were to take that combat and make each character more unique, they could make a Transformers hero shooter, and that could be really fun. And
Mm.
having that in
Hmm.
combination with a really good story mode could be great. I got hero shooter on the brain because of Marvel Rivals.
Right.
And yeah, this is sad to hear. I hope we get a good Transformers game one of these days because we need more Transformers. I like Transformers so much. Hopefully, we get Transformers
Yeah.
one sequel too. Because stuff happened there, but we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
So we got the official gameplay reveal trailer for Mai Shirinu in Street Fighter 6. And I promised to be less horny on main this year, but Mai Shirinu is making it hard. No pun intended. There are physics. I was waiting for the laugh. I was like, either it's not funny or they're laughing real hard.
It took me a minute. I was like, wait, what? Oh, you know what though? You're real. It's still January. It's still January. Resolutions don't stop counting or don't count until February.
That's crazy work.
That's my hot take. They don't count.
That's crazy work, but I get it. And so there are physics, but they are somewhat subdued. I applaud Capcom for their restraint because if it was up to me, there would be her physics would be just as realistic as all the other physics in the game. But that's what mods are for.
Right.
Capcom is also very well aware of how horny the fans are for Mai, and they reference it in all of the marketing. On socials, they said, and I quote, Mai from Fatal Fury promises to warm you up when she bounces into Street Fighter 6 on February 5th. Insanity.
Insane work.
That's crazy work. And in her outro screen, she says, where are you looking at? Up here. Oh my god. Capcom, calm down, okay? We get it. But aside from that, she looks fun to play. I might have to get back into Street Fighter 6 soon. She also has her biker skin from the upcoming Fatal Fury City of Wolves skin, and it looks pretty good. But let's move on. We don't need to talk about that too much. New year, new me. So, I mean, did you see the trailer though?
I did see the trailer.
So you know what
and you're entirely correct. I know what you're talking about.
Like the trailer starts off crazy.
Yeah, it does.
It starts off so wild. But anyway, y'all, go watch that trailer if you haven't seen it. You guys have to watch it to understand where we're coming from, okay? It's not our fault. It's Capcom's.
Right.
They didn't need to do
Capcom
this.
knows. They know what they're doing.
But I sent you a trailer, I hope, for a game called Blood of Dawnwalker. Or Blood of the Dawnwalker.
You did, I think. Yeah.
So, I'm going to read some information coming from Andy Robson at VGC. A group of lead developers behind The Witcher 3 have revealed their new RPG, The Blood of Dawnwalker. Developed by new Polish studio Rebel Wolves and published by Bandai Namco, The Blood of Dawnwalker is described as a single-player open-world dark fantasy action RPG with a strong focus on story and narrative. You play as Cohen, a young man turned into a Dawnwalker, forever treading the line between the world of day and the realm of night. Use your skills and combine vampiric strength with human resolve as you take on a quest to save the ones you love. Face your foes, be they human, monster, or the ticking clock itself. But remember, the real evil may bask in the sun's light, and the most loyal of allies could lurk under the cover of night. Rebel Wolves is helmed by. Now I'm gonna be reading on a lot of Polish names, so I might mispronounce them all. So Rebel Wolves is helmed by Konrad Tomaskowicz, who was The Witcher 3's game director and head of production / secondary game director of Cyberpunk 2077. So the game director of Witcher 3. And he's joined in his new Warsaw, Poland-based studio by Bartolomew Goel, who was The Witcher 3's art director, as well as writer Jakub Sizamel. I'm gonna struggle, y'all. I don't know how to pronounce his Polish name. Jakub.
Do your best.
Sizamelik. Mm-hmm. It's literally SZA, so I can only say SZA because of SZA. Who was a design director on Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, and Thronebreaker, and Daniel Sadowitsky, who worked on Witcher 1 as an animation director, and a lot of people. I'm not even going to read the rest of these names because it's unnecessary. But all of these people are people from CD Projekt Red, and they all have very Polish last names. And they're all at this new studio, Rebel Wolves. And yeah, it sounds cool. and it looks cool from a little bit we've seen. We saw a CGI trailer with just a tiny bit of gameplay. Um,
Right.
but projects like this have not had a good track record. Um,
Yeah.
Most recently, we saw the Dead Space successor, spiritual successor, Callisto Protocol, headed up by former Dead Space devs, fail, and then immediately get shown up a month later by the Dead Space remake. That was like insane to watch happen, especially since I was playing Dead Space and it was so good. um, yeah, this game could be setting itself up to get shown up by The Witcher 4 whenever that comes out in a few years.
Right.
But of course, I wish these devs all the luck, and I hope it's good. I never want things to fail, unless they're made by bad
Right.
people. Looking at you, Neil Druckmann.
Ah.
But some more interesting news was released on Twitter via Matus Griner, the Blood of Daywalker PR manager. They said, you will have a limited time to complete its main story, but the game itself doesn't have a hard time limit. In short, the player has
Interesting.
limited time to complete the main goal. Exploring the world doesn't move the time forward, but every quest does. It plays a huge role in our narrative setup, and we'll be expanding on what it means later on. Sorry, I wrote this wrong. Uh, all quests, but why did I? Hold on, I'm confused. Let me read this for a second. It will always be clearly telegraphed to the player if any activity moves time forward and by how much. Players will have control over it. It's also worth noting that there won't necessarily be game over after 30 days and 30 nights, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's all I can say for now. So that's interesting that there's a time
It's really
limit, like a
interesting.
Persona game almost. But also, if
Mm.
if you reach the end of the time limit, that might not be the end. So I'm curious to see what that means.
Right.
And we'll learn more this summer because there's going to be a gameplay reveal according to the end of the trailer. So I'm excited to see more.
Ooh. Mhm.
Assassin's Creed Shadows. So it has been delayed to March 20th, unfortunately. It's supposed to come out in February.
Mhm.
But as Miyamoto said, or some people have said that this might not have come from Miyamoto. But a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. So hopefully these delays result in a good game because I'm so excited for this game. And Ubisoft
Mhm.
released a blog post going over the stealth and parkour a few weeks ago, and that got me even
Mhm.
more excited. And before that, I also came across a compilation of new gameplay on YouTube. This is the stuff that I said I was going to talk about a few weeks ago, but I was like, I'm going to push it back because we got too much stuff to talk about during the Game of the
Right.
Year episode. I've talked about it to death, but going prone adds so much to this game. And in the blog post, they show a clip of Nawe rolling out of a bush while prone, and then taking someone out by slicing their ankle and then stabbing them in the neck like goddamn Solid Snake. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited for this. Being able to go prone just enhances stealth combat so much because they have to
Mhm.
create tons of systems that take advantage of that new dimension. Like I've said 1,000 times, but I'll always say it because it's so cool. They also go over the depth of and specific mechanics of the parkour system, and the fact that it's so not complicated in the sense that it'll be hard to control, but just that there's so many specific mechanics in place that they can go in depth like this with it just makes me so excited to explore the world and just do parkour and see what the new parkour system is like because parkour has got super
Mhm.
simplified over the course of the franchise. And people have been wanting it to reach the level of like Assassin's Creed Unity. I think people said has like the best parkour in the franchise. I haven't played Unity. Um, so like I'm really curious to see what the parkour is like in this game or to experience it
Mm.
myself. Um,
Mhm.
and in the gameplay, I saw the combat looks even better and it looks very similar to Ghost of Tsushima, which is a
Yeah.
very good thing in my eyes. So we're eating good this year, assuming that
You really are.
Ghost of Yotai does come out this year. We're gonna have two games of the same ilk, and that's
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
good for everybody.
Exciting.
I think I mentioned this like off the podcast, but I'm considering upgrading to a PS5 Pro just so that I could sell you my PS5 so that you can play Ghost of Yote when it
Like a
releases.
Yote. That would be fire. I would take you up on that.
But we'll see what happens. And GTA 5 comes out this year. Oh my god, release it maybe.
Mhm.
Who knows if it gets delayed, but I don't think it will. So, like I said, it's too many games to play this year. I'm not gonna be able to replay Ghost of Tsushima before Ghost of Yote comes out. I'm just gonna have to play it, Ghost of Yote, and Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Um, so old PlayStation IPs may be coming back.
Ooh.
PlayStation CEO Herman Hulse says that PlayStation is looking at opportunities to leverage its legacy IPs. The numerous IPs that we hold are an important asset for PlayStation, and as part of our efforts to strengthen our portfolio, not only developing new franchises, we're also continually looking at opportunities to leverage our legacy IP, according to Famatsu. Um, Recently, a slew of live service games from PlayStation were canceled, and I've never been more happy to hear that games are being canceled because nobody asked for that PlayStation. Um, Hopefully, the studios that were working on those games can begin working on revivals of the many dormant IPs that PlayStation has. And
Right.
and at the top of my list is Infamous. So
Real.
this sounds great. You know, we need a new Sly Cooper, new Jack and Daxter, new Infamous.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
what is it? Resistance. Goddamn. I forget what's that other first person shooter series called? I forget. Killzone.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. In our last episode of the year, I talked about how I wasn't into the game initially because it wasn't what I was expecting, with it being far more stealth focused and non-linear than I thought it'd be. But after playing a lot more over the holiday break, I've turned around on it, and I'm having a good time. But my biggest gripes are still the combat and camera. I'm not a fan of how stealth focused it is, or of the first person camera. Um, but the open zones have grown on me. Um, and I would love to see a future Uncharted game maybe try something like this, where it's more open. You can explore a little bit, but it's not like actually open world. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying this game a lot more than I did initially, but I still have my gripes, and because of that, I've been
Sense
playing
makes
it
sense.
very slowly. But I kind of want to just get through it so that I can start playing Tomb Raider because I'm much more excited to get to playing that second Tomb Raider game. Um, so for our penultimate discussion of video game section, we have Marvel Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
So, season one of Marvel Rivals began on January 10th, and I am obsessed. They're calling this a mega season with double the content since they wanted to release the Fantastic Four all together. Um, Seasons will last 3 months, so we'll usually get two characters per season. And it's been recently confirmed that we will be getting a new character every month and a half. Um,
Ooh.
in the first half of this season, we got Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. We have one new convoy map, which is their push to cart game mode, and a new game mode with his own map, and all of the season rewards, which
Ooh.
includes 10 new skins. Um, so the new game mode is a free for all mode called Doom Match and takes place in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and it incorporates Doctor Strange's portals all throughout it because the Sanctum Sanctorum is Doctor
Ooh.
Strange's like mansion in Manhattan, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are portals that from the outside it looks like it's a big building, but it looks smaller from the outside than it is from the inside. And you go through a portal, and there's a bunch of portals inside that take you to different parts of the mansion. It's really cool. Um,
That sounds cool.
yeah, and the new convoy map is called Kingdom of Eternal Night Midtown, where you have to help or stop Herbie from making his way from the Baxter Building, which is the Fantastic Four's building, to the Avengers Tower. Um, yeah, also in terms of balance changes, Hawkeye and Hela got a much needed nerfs, though I'm not sure how much it helps because Hawkeye still destroys me all the time. Um, and Wolverine and
But,
Storm got some much deserved buffs. Like I said in the last episode with
ooh.
Matt, playing Storm the way the devs intended doesn't allow you to fully engage in the power fantasy of being that hero. And now
Right.
Storm is a much more viable character, and more people are playing her. But for me, it still doesn't necessarily fully capture the power fantasy because you're still better off being low to the ground than flying high, even though she can fly high, which I think it like is goes the complete opposite of like how people want to play that character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Cap, Venom, and Cloak and Dagger also got buffs. Cloak and Dagger is one of the best healers in the game. I don't know if they needed buffs, but I'm not complaining because they're the character I play the most.
Right.
um,
Right.
so the battle pass is $10. You can pay $20 for like a beefed up version that gives you 20% more of the currency and uh, some extra currencies. Make get through the battle pass faster. And once you battle pass, all the skins are free. You just have to earn the in-game currency to buy it, and that's what I've been doing. And it's purposely built in a way to where it will take you essentially if you play every day and do all the missions every day, you will be able to have enough coins by the end of the season to have purchased all of the stuff. Um,
Right.
and yeah, I'm so into this. This is so fun. This game is so fun. I literally play it every single night. I've never done this before. I don't play multiplayer games like that, and I grew up,
You really don't.
without access to the internet, or like on and off again access to the internet. So I just never had, the ability to play games online when I was a child. I just played games in person, co-op, split screen. Um, so yeah, I'm really getting into this. I'm playing it with my friends every night too. Like I'm really playing. I'll start by myself, and then my friend will hop on, and I'm like, okay, now I'm playing, and then five other people hop on with us, and now we have a full squad. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it's so fun. It's such a good game. You should play it. You should try it at least. It's real fun. It's free.
I will.
It's free, guys. If
Because
you
I have
guys don't.
friends that play, and I'm like, if it stops them from playing League of Legends while I'm in call, I'm down for it.
Yeah, it's a real good thing. Yeah. So speaking of the Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic, they're fun. Mr. Fantastic is almost a hybrid between a tank and a DPS. He is a what they call DPS duelist, and tanks vanguards, and he's a duelist, but he has some like vanguard qualities where he can, when he after he takes enough damage, he enters this like an inflated mode where he does more damage, but he can't use any of his like special moves. Um, and he essentially turns to like Luffy Gear 4 when he does that, when he gets like a big torso but tiny legs, and a tiny head is real funny to look at. But yeah, he's fun to play. But even more so than that, I find playing Invisible Woman more fun. Um, Naturally, because she's Invisible Woman, her passive is that once she is just not when she's not attacking, she just turns invisible after a couple seconds.
Oh
So
wow.
that's just what she did, because I mean that's her whole thing. But
Right.
also she's a healer, so her regular attack heals allies, damages enemies. Unlike Cloak and Dagger, which is like auto aim, it just auto aims towards allies. But and if you bounce it, you can bounce it around corners. You can bounce it off walls, which is really cool, Cloak and Dagger. But
Okay.
hers, you have to
That
you
is.
have to actually have good aim. But her shield,
Oh,
you can put a force field in front of people, and that also heals people, and of course blocks damage.
ooh.
And she has a double jump, and when she double jumps, so her invisibility takes a while. Like I said, it takes a couple seconds, but it's long enough to where like you can easily get murdered before you get a chance to turn invisible and run away. So she has a double jump, and the double jump instantly turns her invisible, so that you don't have to wait for that cooldown, and you could like escape certain situations. And then she has a this like gravity bomb almost, where she like throws a force field that like pulls people towards it and does damage. And then the last move, which is my favorite move before I talk about the ultimate, is that she can push or pull people um away towards her. So you can pull a healer into your team and have the healer get destroyed, or like push tanks back when they're trying to rush the point or you or the card or whatever. And that's really
Ooh.
cool. And then her ultimate, she picks up a big like cylinder of invisibility that also heals people who are inside of it, but the enemies outside of it can't see um the people on your team that are inside of it. But
Right.
if you're on the team, you can see the people inside of it, but the other team
Of
can't see
course.
inside of it. And if the other team goes inside of it, they move slower. So
Ooh.
yeah, Invisible Woman is real fun. In 20 days, we're getting a Human Torch and the Thing, and I'm curious to see how the Thing plays. Especially, I'm most excited for Human Torch, but I'm curious to see how the Thing plays simply because, um, he's just a big strong guy. I love the Thing, but he's just big strong guy, and we have big strong guys in this game already. So I'm curious to see how they make this big strong guy different from the other big strong guys. Um, and I wonder if they'll make him like an Earthbender. That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
And yeah, I'm curious just to see how they'll make all the big strong guys different from each other, because you get to a certain point where it's like there are so many characters that it's just he's big, he's invulnerable, and he's strong. Luke
Right.
Cage, Juggernaut, Colossus. Colossus is rumored to be in the game. His sister Magic is in the game. So it makes sense he'll be in the game, especially since he's the person that does the fastball special with Wolverine, which Hulk can do with Wolverine in this game. So yeah, he's going to be in the game, Colossus, according to leaks. So like, how are they going to make Colossus different from? Because his whole thing is just metal skin, strong. How do you make that different? How do you make that more unique? How do you make this person play different from the Hulk, or like I said, the Thing? I'm interested to see how they do that. But also I'm interested to see more like hybrid characters like Mr. Fantastic, where he can be tanky if he wants to, if you play him right. I want to see characters that's like a duelist, but is also a healer. A character a lot of people point to is Miles Morales. I talked about before how the developers use Miles Morales as an example of a character that like holds the same mantle as another character, but would be a separate character. So he's that by
Mm-mm.
saying that, like the dev said that they all but confirmed he will be in the game eventually. Um, so like I'm excited to see what he plays like, and a lot of people suggested that maybe he should be a duelist where he's a DPS, he does damage mostly, but he should have a little bit of healing stuff where like with his electricity he can heal people a little bit. That would be cool. Um, and then I would love to have like a tank that can also heal. Like I'm curious to see how they mix and match with stuff because they try to encourage people to not look at it as so trinary where they all fit into a single box, and that in the future there will be more mixing and matching like with Mr. Fantastic. But yeah, that's all I have to say really. Well, one last thing actually is that
Mm.
um since this season, the main villain of like the story of the season, there's these little comic book pages you can collect that tell little stories that are pretty fun, pretty well written, honestly. And each character has
Mm.
their own like little lore pages that is like that's a little bit of a read, and it's kind of fun having the story go along with everything. And in this one, Dracula has like there's a multiverse as there always is. And in this
Right.
specific universe, Dracula has covered Manhattan in eternal darkness. Um,
Mm.
and he's kidnapped Blade and Ratatosker, and kind of just stopped anything that could stop him. He's captured, and Fantastic Four is trying to stop uh, Dracula. And it made me think of like, especially since Castlevania Nocturne came out recently. What if we got a Castlevania style Blade game? I'm talking a
That'd be
side a
fun.
side scrolling Metroidvania where you go after Dracula. Because
That would be fun.
even though it like when you think about it for 5 seconds, you goes, yeah, obviously Dracula exists in Marvel, but like a lot of people don't know that. Like, did like you probably could have guessed that, but like, did you really know that Dracula existed in Marvel?
No, I didn't. Because when you were
Exactly.
like Dracula, I was
Yeah,
like,
I was about to
wait, are we
say
talking about something else or
that's
like?
like that's how a lot of people felt like when they started seeing like because like I said, Dracula is the main villain of this first season, so there's a big picture of him all over the place, and like in the trailer, it's him narrating, so it's like yeah, Dracula's in this game, and it's like oh, Dracula's in
Yeah, that
Marvel, and it's like of course he is.
logically, when you think about it, because Blade
Yeah,
exists, but I'm like, if I didn't expect
yeah, and no, it's
like
just Dracula. It's just straight up
yeah,
Dracula.
like you would think that they would make up like a new villain
No, it's
for Blade,
just
but no, it's just
it's
Dracula.
just Vlad Dracula Tepish. It's just Dracula. And yeah, he what was I gonna say? Damn, I can't remember. Oh, the comic that Blade introduced in isn't a Blade comic. It's a Dracula comic called The Tomb of Dracula. That is where Blade introduced.
Insane.
Not only is Dracula like exist in Marvel, he had his own comic in the '70s. So yeah, it's
That's
it's
insane.
it's strange to think of, but when you think about it, you go like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But moving on to our last topic for the day. You can guess what it is. Go ahead and tell him. Go ahead and tell him. You know what it is.
Do I know?
You know what was revealed recently.
Oh, the Switch 2!
The
I
Switch
completely
2.
forgot. Yes, the Nintendo Switch 2 was released, and it's funny because the morning you sent me the release, like the first look trailer, I had the Twitter link copied to send to you. I was like, it was early enough in the morning. I was like, maybe Deshaun hasn't seen it. You were on it, and I was like, damn.
It's so
But
yeah. The Switch 2 has finally been officially revealed, and if I'm being honest, it was kind of underwhelming, but by no fault of Nintendo. The leaks really took the wind out of the sails of this announcement, and it feels like maybe it wasn't even supposed to be announced like this. This is the successor to one of the highest selling consoles of all time. I believe it's like number 3, just behind the Wii and the PS2, and it has completely changes how Nintendo operates because of that. I imagine that the direct that's coming on April 2nd was supposed to be when they fully revealed it, but they essentially put this out. I saw somebody said that why does this feel like Nintendo just said here nigga damn, uh, and I was
wait,
like that's exactly what they did because they probably did this to get ahead of the leaks, or get
mm,
even more ahead of the more leaks coming out because there have been so many, and they were like damn we gotta say something at this point.
right. And I
But
think the funniest thing about that is it's the same. like gaming journalists that were like perpetuating the leaks are now like, oh, the Switch 2 reveal was really underwhelming. Gee, I wonder why.
Exactly. Like, oh, I wonder why. And it's like, here's the thing. Go like I don't like I'm not mad at you covering the leaks. It's just like
Right,
don't
that's
then say
journalism.
something like this when you know why. At least I hope like in the article they address that. And like, sometimes the titles are misleading and the article
Yeah.
can be better written and, go more into detail than you think than based off the title. But at the same time, it's like, come on, you know why. You can cover
Come
you
on, yo.
covered it.
Yeah.
Like just be honest with yourself. We don't care that you covered it. We were listening. We watched it. We read the articles. We liked it. But
Right.
but like don't pretend like you don't know why this is happening. But
Right. You didn't have a hand in this.
despite that, it's still exciting to get confirmation.
Mhm.
The trailer shows all the changes they made to the Switch 2 in comparison to the one. So let's go over what we've seen in this. They don't go in detail with anything. They're saving that for the direct, but we can speculate a little
Right.
bit, and just talk about what they
Mhm.
actually showed. So first off, it's bigger, obviously. That's what a
Of
lot of
course.
people wanted. Everybody wanted it to be bigger screen, better screen. Um, and at the very end of the trailer, we see a side by side of the Switch One and the Switch Two, and based on that, people have figured out how big it is. And the Switch Two is 31% bigger, with a potentially
Ooh,
8-inch screen as opposed to the original 5.5 inches of the Switch One. Um,
good.
the Joy Cons are also bigger, with bigger buttons, which will make it easier to use them individually for multiplayer games. And they also connect magnetically now instead of sliding on, which like people, I'm sure you've
Thing I've
seen people talking about how they think that the little connector that's on the like actual screen part of the Switch is gonna snap off, and it's
mhm.
like, bro, it's first off,
Nintendo.
it's inside of it, so it's like covered up to
Right.
where you can't just. It's not like a charging cord where like a USB C where it could potentially snap off. Like no, it's inside. It's like recessed inside of it and covered by like part of the outside shell. So it's like no, it's not going to snap off. Also, people don't know how strong these magnets are. I was watching a video where somebody was talking about how they had watched videos of people testing magnets, and the type of magnets that are rumored to be used inside of this are strong as hell. You're not just
And
gonna
then
be
also,
like snapping it off. Like you have to press the release button, otherwise you're not pulling it out.
right, just period. And like, also, this is Nintendo we're talking about. Like, they're say what you want about being like a generation behind and all that. Their quality control is out of this world. Like, besides the stick drift thing, that was a whole thing. But
Yeah, and
yeah, they're usually really good, huh?
I was gonna say hopefully they fix that.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like it'll be fixed. But yeah, like usually, more often than not, 99 times out of 10, their quality control is really good. I'm sure they've tested thoroughly to make sure this thing does not like fall off or snap off or any of those things.
Exactly.
And honestly, I'm more excited about the magnetic connectors because I hate the ones that the Switch have now because they wiggle when like
Yeah.
the Joy Cons are connected to the system. It wiggles and it makes it hard to use them because it makes it feel like the system isn't secure.
Also,
So
the magnets connecting makes more of a snap sound than I feel like sliding it on does. Because sliding it on obviously doesn't actually make the snap sound that they use in all the advertising, but connecting the
right,
Joy Cons via the magnet will actually make a clicking sound.
absolutely, which is exciting.
Which the sound is slightly different now. It sounds like an actual like clapping versus the snap,
Mm.
which is interesting. And last but not least, in terms of like, well, not last, but one of the last thing we saw before we get into some speculation is the main body now has like USB C at the top and bottom, um, and the kickstand is now the full length versus the little tiny flimsy one that the original one had. It's now more similar to like the Switch OLED's kickstand, and it can go down pretty low, based on the
Which
trailer.
I'm glad
And
for.
if you have you gone to their website and seen the additional videos they've shown of like how the controllers connect and the stand?
I have,
Yeah.
and it just made me all the more excited. And I'm so glad that they fixed the kickstand because the one that's on the Switch now is so stupid. I hate that thing. It barely works.
Yeah. And at the end of the trailer, they say that the Switch 2 will play Switch 1 and Switch 2 exclusive games, but with an asterisk and a select few games will not work. People have speculated that it will be games that requires the Switch or the Joy Cons to slide into it, like the Labo or what is it, the that exercise game? I can't remember what it's called.
Ring Fit Adventures.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Ring
that's
Fit.
what I'm thinking.
And also, it's not confirmed whether or not the new Joy Cons will have IR sensors. So like maybe like games like the WarioWare game might not work either. So
Mm-hmm.
those type of
I
games might
think
not work.
the funniest bit of speculation that I've been seeing so far is like, what if the Switch 2 cartridges have the same thing that like the 3DS cartridges have, where it's like it has a little notch on there to prevent them from going in like the old Switch. I think that'd be silly. I hope they don't do that,
Yeah.
but
So I'm glad you mentioned like DS and stuff because before we get into the mouse stuff, there's a button on the right Joy-Con that people don't know what it is. People are assuming that. So there's one theory that is very interesting that could result in a bunch of DS games working on this now. Is that maybe you will be able to wirelessly pair your Switch using that button to your dock. That way you can have two screens, the Switch screen in front of you and it's streaming to your TV so that you can actually play games with two screens and you can play DS games that aren't available on the Switch
fine.
and make them available now. That would be dope as hell for people who want to play all those games that just they weren't available on the Switch because they require dual screens.
Right.
That would be interesting. But the mouse.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, the people have noticed that there was an optical sensor similar to what's at the bottom of a mouse. I'm like lifting my mouse and looking at it on like the side of the Joy-Con in between the shoulder buttons that are on the inside that usually slides in or connects to, and that maybe you'll be able to turn it on the side, slide it around, and use it as a mouse. And in this trailer, they show the mice sliding or the Joy-Con sliding around on the new wrist straps that add like a little bit more of a barrier and that prevents you from like wearing down the actual Joy-Con itself, and also makes the buttons even bigger to make it even easier to use as a controller by itself individually. But yeah, you show it sliding around with the tassel behind it, making it look like a mouse.
A mouse.
So I feel like that all but confirms that there will be some type of mouse support, which is interesting. And I'm curious to see how that's going to work. Like, people are about to start getting cracked in Splatoon.
Oh, yeah. They're gonna put, like, an actual browser on the thing now.
Oh, God. So many people want that. So many people want that.
Because, I mean, the DS had one, and so did the Wii U.
It's crazy that when I heard that there was no internet browser on the Switch, I was like, what? Why?
Well, okay. To be fair, there is an internet browser, but the only way you can access it is the eShop.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Because the eShop, the eShop isn't an app. It's not an app. It's actually running through a browser. That's so stupid.
It's so dumb, and it runs like absolute like dog water. It's terrible.
I really hope they fix that.
Going on the eShop.
Like every time I hear stuff about the Switch, I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad I waited. Because hopefully they fix all that stuff. I'm gonna get the like perfected version of the Switch.
And like, I get why they have it run in a browser, so you can't like it can check if you're connected to the internet and all this stuff, but like they could have handled it a lot better. It did not have to run like doo-doo garbage.
You know what like requires damn near constant internet connection that I use all the time and has separate apps? My Xbox. So step your shit up, Nintendo.
No, for real.
But yeah, I hope they fix a lot of that small stuff. Dang, there was something very specific I was gonna say. I can't remember. So let's just move on to the rumors of how powerful the console will be. We talked about it a little before, but based on leaked motherboard images, we have almost confirmation that the Switch 2 will be as powerful as PS4 Pro. And immediately console warriors start complaining and comparing. And it's like, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing. First of all, let's talk about the fact that the Nintendo Switch came out 2017, right? That is 4 years after the PS4 and the Xbox One, which came out in 2013. Um, and it was using tech on the level of like a PS3, Xbox 360, which, don't get me wrong, a PS3 could somehow, some way run GTA 5, which is incredible. Um, with that said, 720p is unreasonably low image quality for
Yeah.
the year of our Lord 2024. I would say by the time we hit 2020, 720p was unacceptable. The fact that they released the OLED, but the OLED was still locked to 720p is so stupid. Like
Yeah.
a screen, a screen as the size of a phone or bigger should not be low. Like the highest that you could go should not be lower than 1080p. I don't even think 720p is considered HD anymore. I think 1080p is now HD.
It's not. It is.
That's crazy that in 2017 they released a console that didn't even have HD graphics. Like, I'm not a snob about that type of stuff, but I have a line. And my line is,
And that's
it's 1080p. Like you heard me earlier talking about those goddamn Ben 10 DVDs. I need my Blu-rays because because DVDs don't support anything higher than 720p. That's why Blu-ray. That's why you constantly hear me talk about like when things don't have Blu-rays, but they do have DVDs because Blu-rays are 720p. Like I have Harry Potter on DVD. I wish I didn't because it's DVD. It's 720p. It looks like ass. But like, yeah, like, you know, I appreciate the person who gifted it to me, but like,
right.
at
the same time.
And I did watch them all on the DVDs. But like, yeah, it's crazy that for 8 years, people with Switches have been stuck with 720p. So having presumably 1080p finally handheld is going to be great. But there are also rumors that maybe it will actually be up-resed when it's docked, which would be incredible.
It would be.
Nintendo does not need 4K. But if they were to give me 1440p, I'd cry because I'm not expecting it at all. So I would just be completely and totally surprised. So if they could give us 1440p, I will shake Shigeru Miyamoto's hand. Even though I'm pretty sure he's not making those decisions anymore. But like,
but still.
it would be great. But like, look at games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Uncharted 4, and The Last of Us Part 2, and tell me that if those games, without remasters, came out today on PS5, Xbox One, and PC, you wouldn't believe that it just came out for this generation. You would, because those games look incredible. And that is the power. More powerful than that, actually, because it's a Pro, not just a regular PS4. The regular PS4 did that. It's supposedly not as powerful as a Pro, a little bit more powerful than a Pro, somewhere like just below Xbox Series S. So like, oh my God, Nintendo games are going to start looking good. It's going to be crazy.
The thing that people are forgetting, right? Like, yes, it's PS4 power, but
in your hand.
It's portable.
It's in your hand.
You can take it with you.
Imagine carrying a PS4 with a screen, 8-inch screen around. That would be, that's crazy. I think people are forgetting that. It's in your hand. Like, it makes sense why they had to use PS3 technology for the Switch. After a while, though, like, come on, you got to upgrade.
It's like people forget that the whole point of the Switch is for it to be portable. Like, I get, if it was a regular console, usually I don't care about stuff like this. It's like, if it plays games, great. But if it were a regular console, like, yeah, this would be unacceptable. But it's portable. It goes in your pocket. It can go with you everywhere. It's insane. Like, this is more than enough, even. Yeah. Although I will admit that sometimes some video games on my original Switch, God rest its soul, I don't think it's ever going to see the light of day again after the Switch 2 comes out. But like, some games do run like absolute garbage on there, which makes me sad because, you know, there's a lot of good games out there. They just don't run good because the tech is the generation behind. But like PS4 level, especially as I've just gotten a PS4 and can see how powerful it is. Yeah, like, no. Like, having something like that in your pocket is revolutionary.
Yeah, like the reality is the people complaining either aren't a part of the target audience to begin with, or they're just going to buy it anyway, despite their complaining.
Right.
And like, PlayStation and Xbox have barely taken advantage of their current generation of consoles, whereas Nintendo is about to take full advantage of their new tech with every game that they make. And hopefully we get remasters of Switch games like the Zeldas, which I assume, like Breath of the Wild, I hope it like ships with a remaster of Breath of the Wild at the very least.
That would be nice.
Like I imagine
That'd
like
be
we're
nice.
probably gonna get Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, like remasters like off rip. Because
which would be funny because it'd be the third time Breath of the Wild is released.
hilarious. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the fact that this is handheld is crazy. Also, handhelds have historically been like a generation behind in power. That's just how that works because it has to be held in your hand. But with that said,
Right.
of course there are handhelds that can reach, the power of modern consoles. You got the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. But here's the thing. Those cost $700.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Nintendo wants their stuff to be affordable. This is probably going to be $400, $399.99. So that's a good price for this. That's going to be a big enough price for people to go, okay, time for me to upgrade. And I'm going to have this for another 8 years. So like, yeah, that's like this is a console that is being predominantly aimed towards children, not tech snobs.
This is not
like
for
go get a Steam Deck if you want that. But let's talk about the fact that all of the third-party games that Nintendo is about to start porting to the Switch.
Oh, absolutely.
They're about to go crazy with third-party games. Like, there was a rumor that maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake about to be on Switch too.
And I will play it.
And that ran on PS4, so I believe it. That ran on a base PS4. I played that on a base PS4. And that game is very demanding. And then maybe they'll make Rebirth work. Like they're probably gonna studios. You know what? What makes me happy is that this could result in a thing I talked about a few episodes ago, where I said I think 1440p, 60 frames per second should be the goal of every game. That should be the base. That should be what every game should strive for. And then later on, they could try and make 4K like 120 frames work. But 1440p, 60 frames should be the base. And if that were to become the base, then it would be much easier to port games to Switch, to port games to, which a lot of devs have complained about, the Xbox Series S, because it's less powerful than the Xbox Series X. But Xbox wants every single game that's on the Xbox Series X to also work on S. Studios have a hard time trying to make their games work on the less powerful version of the Xbox. Because of that, there are a lot of games that just don't release on Xbox until like a year after they're out on PC and PlayStation. But if it were to become
the hype's done.
Yeah, but if it were to become a norm for games to run at the power of Xbox Series S and the Nintendo Switch that's coming up, because like I said, presumably it's going to be around, it's going to be comparable to a Series S, then that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited to finally have a Switch. It's gonna be so good. I'm talking about playing so many games. I'm gonna be playing Nintendo games that I didn't get a chance to play.
Right.
I didn't think I'd be interested in Mario Party until I watched somebody play Mario Party Jamboree, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to play that.
Group of friends, it's really fun.
Yeah, I'll probably when I get that, I'm probably gonna okay, mom, sis, come on over. We're gonna play Mario Party. Let's play Mario Kart, which they showed a little teaser for potentially Mario Kart 9 or whatever they call it. And I don't play Mario Kart. I don't think I've ever played a Mario Kart. So this could potentially be my first Mario Kart.
Real. I do. And the prospect of, based on the reveal teaser, of there being 24 people races is both insane and so intriguing to me. But then on the same token, if I come 24th place in a Mario Kart race, I'm crashing out will not begin to describe what will happen.
This is about to be the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate of Mario Kart, where they have every track from every game. They're gonna have every Nintendo character ever in the game as playable character. That's probably exactly what this is about to be. This is about to be the last Mario Kart. This is about to become games as a service Mario Kart. Watch. Which honestly doesn't sound like a bad idea.
It really doesn't.
To just be okay, this is the last Mario Kart, and from here on out, we're just going to keep adding new tracks and new carts and new characters. Right. That's honestly not a bad idea.
That's what they kind of did with 8.
Yeah, that's what they did. That game lasted for like it lasted like 2 generations, didn't it? Like it came out on a Wii U,
It did.
and then it was on the Switch, and now it's gonna be on. Well, technically it'll be on Switch too, but they're releasing a new Mario Kart for the Switch too.
Right.
So
I just hope that as a Nintendo Switch Online member, I get a discount. Because I've already sold my soul to Nintendo. I would like, to not pay as much money. That would be nice. And I hope the membership like carries over. Like I don't have to pay for a completely separate membership for the Switch 2. I don't think they would do that, but
yeah, no.
still.
But like, we never talked about the Nintendo Music app, which is an insane thing that they did. Like instead of just
Mm.
putting their music on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music, they just decided we're just gonna make our own app because people will
That's
pay
very
for that.
Nintendo core.
Yeah, because people will pay for that because people are stupid and we own them.
I mean, it comes free with if you have
And that's how
what's
they
it called,
get you.
Switch Online.
And that's how they get you.
Yeah, and I've used it. It's actually a fairly competent music app, all things considered.
Okay, I just want to be able to listen to my Legend of Zelda music on YouTube, which I already do, technically illegally. I literally go to
Yeah,
sleep
it's
listening to the music in
competent.
video games. Like was it? I go to
Real.
sleep listening to like Persona 5 music, like the jazz songs from that game,
It makes sense. It's got a good soundtrack.
and
But
like
yeah,
some.
it's
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
pretty good.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's the my one qualm with Nintendo Music is that they're releasing everything piecemeal. So like
Mm.
they just added the Wind Waker soundtrack like 2 days ago. And they don't notify you when they add new games to the service. So I have to go in and like check every week and a half or so, which is kind of annoying, but the streaming is high quality. They have the Wii stuff on there, so like the shop, the all the apps and stuff, and like all the music from that, which is nice. Hoping for some more DS games on there because they have banger soundtracks. And I'm
Yeah,
wondering how they're gonna handle like third party titles that were on like the what's it called, like your Castlevanias and your stuff like that, if they'll even put them on the app.
yeah. I think a
you
lot
know
of those games' music is already like available other places, probably.
yeah, I know Symphony of the Night soundtrack is available on Spotify, but that's it. None of the other Castlevania games. And I'm like, I would like to listen to Harmony of Dissonance's OST on the go. It's really good.
Well, that's all I got. If you don't have anything, um,
Nope, that's all I've got.
I'm Dijon, and you can find my ads above me, and my ears at above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.